Hello humans, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, we shape and polish gemstones using a dremel. If that's something that interests you, please consider subscribing. Today we're going to be working on this really off the charts piece of rainbow moonstone, and you guys can see that it's got some good oranges going on, some strong blues, a little bit of green. We love some green in there, and should be pretty good to cut. I really hope that we're able to get something good out of this. The colors are bright on it. When we weigh it out, the starting weight of the stone is 12.20 carats, so it's pretty big. And when we shine a flashlight through it, you guys can see that there are some healed fractures going on and possibly some less healed fractures going on, so we'll see how that turns out. When we measure it, it is 14.22 by 12.22 by 6.27 millimeters. So if you guys want to see how the stone gets shaped and polished and turned into a jewel, keep on watching. So as you guys have seen, this stone is already pretty primed to be a cushion cut, except for this side here that has a little bit of an angle going off of it. So I am going to attempt to do a cushion cut on this. You never know what life's going to throw at you, so we will see if it turns out the way that I hope it will. I have high hopes for this stone. I think that it has great potential to, maybe if I'm lucky, and don't quote me on this, I'd like to try to save at least half of it, so that'd be nice if I did. I've only been cutting gemstones for 3 or 4 years now, so I don't have like this super insane amount of knowledge about what I'm doing. I know what I know, and I'm learning just as much as everybody else. I think it's important to, as you're stepping forward in life, always open your mind to learning new things. So if you guys have any tips for me, don't be afraid to let me know in the comments below. I would appreciate that. Here in a second, I'm gonna show you guys my setup, because I know in past videos I was a bit more zoomed out and you could see my setup like a little bit. But I think it's important to show you guys what my full-on setup really looks like. I've described it too, but it'd be good for you guys to see what I got going on, so that if you are somebody like me who just can't afford a fancy lapidary setup with all the wheels and all that, you know, if you have a dremel and maybe some clamps, that you could do something similar to what I have going on over my corner over there. Alright guys, so this is my setup. I have my dremel here, clamped to my shelf with these, and then I have a sponge here to keep the dremel in place. It can sometimes get a little bit wobbly, so I'll just tighten it there like that, and it's pretty good. So that when it's on, it stays pretty good. It's plugged into an outlet that is over there. And then right here, I have my table that has usually my little water bowl in it. And this is, it's like a cloak. That I film all my stuff on. And then I have my chair over there that I sit on, that has a stand next to it here, as you guys can see. These are like my settings, and I keep all this stuff over here, and this is my calipers. So that's kind of my setup. I have my thingy here that I keep my dopping sticks on. These are like incense sticks that I'm all ready to use for dopping really small stones. And then here I have my acetone for when I'm super glue dopping. And then I have a air purifier right here, which I have turned off right now so you guys can hear me. my glue and stuff is right here. So that's kind of my setup. If you guys were wondering, I have a ring light that I brought my phone on right here. That's how I get my shots. The tools I'll be using today are this 110 grit diamond sintered Dremel bit from Suva Lapidary. I have my Nova points that I have here from Suva Lapidary as well. And then these are my polishing pastes with felt tips that I got the paste from Kent Supply and the felt tips from Amazon. I will be using Dopping wax, which this is Dopping wax that I just found that I bought a while ago. And then also I'll be using a stick to dop the stone onto, and then to heat everything up, I will be using my alcohol lamp here that I will be lighting with a lighter. And for safety, it's really important to be wearing a dust mask as well as a pair of glasses. And you want to be wearing a hat as well to keep your hair out of your eyes, and if you have long hair like me, make sure it doesn't get caught up in your Dremel. So moving forward into the shaping process, my first plan of action was to make sure that the sides were nice and flat. And to start that out, I started working on that side that I was showing you guys earlier that had a bit of a crooked angle. And so the entirety of the stone kind of tapers towards that side. So not only is that end more blunt, but also the sides of that side are wider as well. So I started by flattening that and then bringing in those sides, being sure to take a look at it constantly pretty much, and I'm just making sure that as I'm working on it that I am making sure that the sides are nice and flat and flush and not like a weird crooked angle, because if I want to make a trapezoid here I could make a trapezoid, but I'm going for a rectangle or a square, whichever ends up working out the best. So once I get those sides nice and flat, I'm left with some really sharp corners, which I'm going to want to file those down. Now, if you like sharper corners, you can keep them like that. I know that some people do like that kind of a look, but I wanted to make the edges a little bit duller. This is it when I have mostly flattened the sides and I have not started filing down the corners yet, and you can see that it's not the most even all the way around, and I'll just have to continue working on my coarsest bit here to remedy that. And so I then went into evening out the sharp corners, because some of the sharp corners did have little divots going in to certain sections of it, which was another reason why it would be good to flatten those out, or at least make them duller and like a more smoother appearance, because it could be really easy to, if I dropped it, chip those off or something like that. But I know that you could also go and take those corners and flatten them out entirely, and then have, instead of smooth edges, have sharper edges on that if you're going for more of an emerald cut. Speaking of an emerald cut, to get the sort of doming action that I wanted going on, I did emerald cut sort of the edges, making them nice and flat all the way around it, and I am then going to, for the face, smooth those edges out. But for the back of it, I did leave those kind of flatter so that it sits better in a setting, because if you round out those sides and try to set it in a pre-made setting, that it's not going to sit the best. But if you do your own metalwork, that won't be so much of an issue, because you can kind of make the metalwork work with the shape of the stone. So this is what the stone looked like when I evened out the edges and made sort of the dome. Sort of got a little bit of a tapering on the back so it'll sit better. And at this point in time, before I start working on the Nova points, it weighs 9.7 carats. So that's pretty good, considering we've done the bulk part of taking off the most amount of carats. So moving forward onto my Nova points here, I wanted to utilize the coarseness of my black Nova point to really make sure that I got the very sides of the stone as straight as possible, and also to make sure that my dome doesn't have any jagged edges or lumps coming off of the very sides where the dome and the sides connect. So I kind of worked on the very sides first, and then I worked on the dome edge where the side connects with the face, and then I worked in circular motions across the face from side to side to really make sure that everything met up evenly. And then I'm also checking in between to look for scratches. And then I started flattening out the flat edges of the back, and then worked on the entire flat part of the back. And this is the method that I used on all of my Nova points because it's just the easiest way for me to make sure that I have gotten everything, is if I work on one section at a time. And as you're working through the Nova points, it does get slicker and harder to hold on to. So if you are somebody who likes to dop, if you want to dop before the Nova points, probably would be a good idea, because I think that all of us who've worked on stones have had that one stone, or maybe multiple stones, that you drop it because it flies out of your hands, and you look for it and you never find it, and it's gone forever. So we definitely want to avoid that at all costs, so dopping will help you avoid that, but also sometimes the stone will pop off the dop, so it really, you really should try to take as many precautions as you can to try to make sure that things don't scamper away from you. Like, something that I do is I have this red sheet that I will drape on all of the stuff in my room behind me, and then I have another sheet that I drape on the other side of the room towards my front door, and then the other side of the room is just right next to a wall, so I don't really have to worry about that so much. And then I also will stuff towels underneath my end table that I work off of, and the shelf that I have my dremel affixed to, so that it doesn't go underneath that either. And so that's how I try to make sure that I can find it when I drop it, because it really sucks when you can't. So I try to make sure that it's, if it falls and I don't hear it, I know that it fell on one of those pieces of fabric. And if it falls and I do hear it, it fell on my hardwood floors, which sometimes I'll drop stuff on my hardwood floors and, like, the stone will break, like you guys have seen in other videos. And if I had something like cement floors, like a lot of shops do, or in garages as well, like, that stone is even more likely to break. As you are working through the Nova points, you're going to want to check and make sure that the stone is properly polished from that bit, so that when you get into the polishing process, you don't have to go back all the way through the Nova points to make sure that it's polished, because once you get past the brown Nova point, if you realize that you have scratches from the brown Nova point on the pink Nova point, or even further in on the polishing paste, like, you're gonna have to go all the way back to the brown Nova point and start all over again. So you really want to be sure that those scratches are out and that you have the best finish that you can get from that bit. And sometimes that means taking a little bit of extra time. Like with a piece this big, it takes longer than it would take for a smaller piece, so that's something to keep in mind. Now here I have my Moonstone after my Nova points, and at this point we are at 9.36 carats, and I have it dopped here, and you guys can see that it's pretty evenly placed around the bottom, and it doesn't really creep up on the sides too much of it, but you guys can see how much of the carats that the Nova points do take off. And you just want to be sure that your stone is nice and secure in your dopping wax. Now, the dopping wax that I showed you guys in the beginning of the video is not the dopping wax that I got from 53 frogs, which the 53 frogs Dopping wax is the stuff that I'm using right now. So the bricks that I showed you guys, I got off of Etsy years ago, before I had even started working on stones that I could use Dopping wax on. So at the time I was only working on Ethiopian opal, and that's all I had, and that's all I was working on. And I bought this Dopping wax thinking that I could use it on Ethiopian opal, which I couldn't. And then I put it in my drawer and I forgot about it. And then when I started working on other stones, I remembered that I had it and that I could use it for Dopping, and I could not find it anywhere. So that's why I went and bought the 53 frogs wax. So definitely, if you get something for your stoneworking, make sure that you know where it is so you can use it when you want it. That being said, if you try to use Dopping wax on Ethiopian opal, your stone's gonna crack and shatter into a million pieces or craze because they can't handle the heat. So if you want to dop Ethiopian opal, just use some super glue. It's the best thing for that, and it works. It may not be the best, but it definitely works. As you are working through the diamond lapidary paste like I'm using, if you are using the diamond lapidary paste, it's really easy to want to just blow through these and work on it with the paste as fast as possible, but it's super important, even with these, to make sure that you have polished it to its full potential of that paste, because you don't want to have to go back and repolish it, and you don't want a scratched up stone either. You want it to have the premium polish for a premium product. And so the visual that I show you guys here is almost always like 1/5 of the time that I actually spend on it. So definitely I do take a little extra time to spend on these, and you can always use cerium oxide. I like to use these because it's what I'm used to. But something else to keep in mind is that these felt tips with the paste, they heat up the stone. And when it heats up the stone, it heats up the wax. So sometimes the wax will get really soft underneath it, especially when you're going on it pretty solidly like I am right here. And so the wax will get hot, it'll move the stone, and then you have to pinch it around and make sure that it is still in place. And with other stones like opal especially, you have to be careful to not burn it right here, just like you have to be careful not to burn it on the nova points, but even more so on these felt tips. They are really creating a lot of energy and a lot of heat. So you really got to be careful not to burn your stone. And I noticed with sunstone and moonstone that isn't as much of an issue, but I'm sure it still can happen. So definitely just make sure that your stone is moving a lot, even if you have a denser divot in it, or you're just trying to get out scratches. Just take your time and be gentle on them, because the more gentle you are on them, the longer they will last. I have had these felt tips for 3 years, and I think I've only changed them out once. Some of them I haven't changed them out ever, and I've been using them since the very beginning. I have not purchased any more felt tips, so just be gentle on them so that they will last you, so that you can not have to go out and buy felt tips again. Felt tips are pretty cheap, but if you burn your stone, that stone is very possibly the price of like 200 or 300 felt tips, because of how cheap felt tips are, depending on which stone you're working on. Like if this was a 10 karat opal, easily would be worth like 300 felt tips. So be careful, treat your stone and your felt tips with gentleness and care and respect. And also, if you're too harsh on it, it'll mess up your dremel too, possibly. So definitely be careful and gentle on them. And so here I have my stone fresh out of the freezer, and you guys can see how well that it popped off of the Dopping wax, and then I just had to kind of chip away at that wax that was left on it, but as you guys can see, that took me really no time at all. And this is the finished stone, guys. It is so beautiful, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. It weighs, the final product weighs 9.32 carats, and it measures 12.36 millimeters by 10.86 millimeters by 6.06 millimeters. So I really didn't lose very much on the size of it, nor did I lose very much in the weight of it. So I ended up losing a total of 2.84 carats overall, which is really not much considering. I mean, I know that it was already primed to be a cushion cut, but I really did not think that I was going to save that many carats. That's really unbelievable, and I'm shocked, really. Alright, so these are my final thoughts on the stone. I'm pretty happy with the way that it turned out. I had a fear in the beginning that some of the fractures that were visible in the rough piece were going to open up and create a larger fracture that would in turn make the piece fall apart. But that didn't happen, so that is really positive. I'm really happy that it turned out the way I wanted it to. Everything went well. Another worry that I had in working on this stone is that in the original shaping process, I had like this feeling that maybe I had shaped it to where one side was fatter and one side was thinner, but that was not the case. In the final piece, it's a pretty even shape, and I think that if that was the case originally on the roughest bit, that I corrected it with the black Nova point. My favorite thing about this stone is the clarity, and that when you can catch the light through it the right way, it looks like an ice cube, and the way the heel fractures ended up, it really looks like ice, which is pretty awesome. My other favorite thing about the stone is the way that when you can catch the flash, that there is the really dark blue line right next to the really orange line, and it's pretty spectacular. This is my favorite moonstone that I've shaped so far, and I definitely like it a lot more than my last moonstone. Now, my last moonstone was very nice, and I was happy enough with it, but the way that the shape was, it was a good enough oval, but there was a couple of bumps on it that I noticed that I didn't like very much, but when I gave the necklace to the person, they were very happy with it, and that's what matters the most. So, all things considered, everything went to plan. I had a great experience this time, and I can't say that I always have a good experience cutting stones. You know, you win some and you lose some. Sometimes you have your really high highs when everything goes to plan, like right now, and then you have your really low lows where everything goes wrong in the last second on a really nice stone like that black opal that I had a while back. That was a pretty low. But, very happy with the way this turned out. I really couldn't be happier. I was able to save a decent amount of the carats as well. I mean, I think it started out as 12 carats and it ended up around 9. So, I mean, that is fantastic. I think I did a good one today, guys. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. I'm going to list this stone for sale on my eBay if anybody's interested, and if you're not, that's totally cool. So, I have been kind of neglecting it, but I have had a couple of videos that reached 1,000 views, so I wanted to put some sunstones on my staff to celebrate those 1,000-view sunstone videos. So, the first one that reached 1,000 views was this one here, and, you know, that stone wasn't the best stone ever, but I'm happy that you guys enjoyed the video. And then for this second stone here that I'm putting on my staff is for this video here, which was awesome that my first 3 sunstone videos reached 1,000 views. It was pretty crazy to me. as that was happening, that you guys were enjoying them so much. And then my final sunstone for this video here is gonna kind of be like a little mouth on my little face that I'm creating here on my staff. I could have placed these all separate, but I wanted them to stay together on the staff since the videos kind of came in a line of videos. And this is what the staff looks like. I got a new sphere in here recently. Well, it was a few months ago, but like right after the last time I glued a stone on here, these two stones at the bottom here. But you guys can see that that is how these sunstones look in the sun, and they are pretty bright. And my sphere that I have in there is a red tiger's eye sphere that I got off of eBay, and I really do love it, and I love how the other stones look on this, and you guys can really see the flash of my tiger's eye sphere here. I'm really happy with it. I think I paid like $15 or $20 for it, and I say it's well worth it because it really is a brilliant, gorgeous sphere. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you guys haven't entered my giveaway, go check out my last video. I'm giving away these 3 stones that I'm about to show. Well, it's 2 stones and a parcel. So please go to my last video, leave a comment telling me how many carats you guys think that these weigh, and you guys could win them. Not many people have entered so far, so it would really be in your best interest to enter because you could have some pretty high chances. And here's my parcel of Ethiopian opal here. Yeah, go over there, leave a comment how many carats you guys think it is, and enter my giveaway for celebrating 700 subscribers. I'm not going to have another one of these until I reach 800 subscribers, which who knows when that will be. So definitely, I highly suggest going and commenting on my last video to enter. Thank you so much for watching this far, guys. I really appreciate it. If you are still watching, it would be awesome if you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to let the algorithm know that this video has been enjoyable and that it's something worth watching. Leave a comment down below if you guys have anything to say, any tips, or just something that you want to say. Share this with your friends if you have any friends, and help build our community and make it stronger. Don't forget to turn on notifications for future videos, and I'll see you guys next time I post a video. Later!